week has been very busy on the continent, with stories ranging from the murder of 21 Egyptians by Islamic State affiliate in Libya to the political drama in Nigeria, and then the sentencing of a South African convict to 2 centuries in prison. I am Veronica Onuchi. Welcome to the show. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi on Monday paid a condolence visit to the Coptic Pope Tawadros II and the nation's Christian community. Also, the country's military carried out airstrikes against an affiliate of Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant targets in Libya in retaliation for the killings of 21 Egyptians in the hands of terrorists. Love Oluwafemi Oyedokun reports.
The attacks focused on ISIS camps, training sites and weapons storage areas across Egypt's border in Libya, where armed groups have thrived amid chaos. This is in response to the beheadings of 21 Egyptian Christians kidnapped in Libya on Saturday by Islamic State militants. The victims, dressed in orange jumpsuits, were beheaded after being forced down to the ground. The video appeared on the Twitter feeds of a website that supports Islamic State.
All praise is due to Allah, the strong and mighty, and may blessings and peace be upon the one sent by the sword as a mercy for all the worlds. O people, recently you've seen us on the hills of Asham and on Dabaq's plain, chopping off the heads that have been carrying the cross delusion for a long time, filled with spite against Islam and Muslims. And today, we're on the south of Rome, on the land of Islam, Libya, sending another message. O Crusaders, safety for you will be only wishes, especially when you're fighting us all together. Therefore, we will fight you all together until the war lays down its burdens and Jesus, peace be upon him, will descend, breaking the cross, killing the swine, and abolishing jizya. And the sea you've hidden Sheikh Osama bin Laden's body in, we swear to Allah, we will mix it with your blood.
Hours after the release of the video, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi warned Cairo would choose the necessary means and timing to avenge the criminal killings.
Very serious situation, and that the potential for a negative development is always possible. But as you started, there is a tendency to perpetrate barbaric actions, and their objectives is to create a sense of instability and fear and intimidation. And it is up to us to resist by showing solidarity and understanding, not to play into the hands of these terrorists.
In the wake of the video released, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi called for an urgent meeting of Egypt's top national security team and declared 7 days of mourning. Meanwhile, Al-Azhar, the prestigious Cairo-based seat of Islamic learning, has denounced the barbaric killings. It stresses that such barbaric action has nothing to do with any religion or human values.
This is a criminal terrorist act done by people who have absolutely nothing to do with religion. And really, personally, I didn't sleep last night after what happened. All Egyptians couldn't sleep. And I am very happy with Sisi's reaction, because he avenged the Egyptian people from the criminal terrorist act. We are all behind Sisi, whatever he does against those infidels.
Libya has slid into chaos after long-time leader Muammar Gaddafi was overthrown and killed 3 years ago. Taking advantage of the chaos, ISIL has carried out a string of deadly attacks. Love Oluwafemi Oyedokun, TVC News.
We'll discuss the threat of the Islamic State affiliates in Africa further in our Digging Deep segment. Now, Nigeria's former President Olusegun Obasanjo cut ties with the ruling People's Democratic Party, PDP. The former president claims the party has totally changed from what it used to be in the past and says he would not be a part of the impunity going on in the party. He publicly displayed his membership card before urging the party's chieftain who visited him to tear it into pieces. The former president also disclosed that he was no longer interested in party politics, claiming he is now a statesman, not a politician. He also commented on the rumors that he wants to head an interim national government if elections are cancelled again.
How can anybody in his right senses talk of interim government in a constitutional setting? Where is it in our constitution? But some of them are working for it. God will not allow them.
Tens of thousands of people marched through Niger's capital, Niamey, Tuesday to show support for the country's military in their ongoing offensive against Boko Haram. This follows a series of attacks last month along the border with Nigeria carried out by terror group. Joy Twinka reports.
These attacks come amid growing international concern about Boko Haram's activities. In order to combat their threats, Nigeria, Chad, Cameroon, Niger and Benin have raised an 8,700-strong force to defeat them. Organizers say up to 35,000 people took part in the demonstration, which saw Prime Minister Brigi Rafini and other government officials lead a march that ended in a mass rally in front of the Parliament building.
This is to support the morale of our troops, which are all across the battlefield, in particular those currently fighting against Boko Haram in the Difa region.
According to Niger's army, the military killed hundreds of Boko Haram militants in operations around Difa, and more than 160 people suspected of links to the group have been arrested since February the 6th.
Anything that affects the integrity of the territory concerns me as a citizen of Niger, as a patriot. I'm behind our army and I encourage them to continue in this direction. We support them to our last breath.
I came to this march for my country. As for these evil people who want to disrupt our country, God help us overcome them. No one has ever attacked our country. They will go back as they came.
Boko Haram killed an estimated 10,000 people last year in Nigeria. The terror group has expanded its area of operations by launching regular raids and have included kidnapping civilians even in northern Cameroon. Joy Twinka, TVC News.
Burundi's President Pierre Nkurunziza is bidding for a third term in office ahead of the country's forthcoming elections. But his hopes may be dashed if his party fails to give him a return ticket. The president's spokesperson, Willy Nyamwitwe, says the selection by the party will be in compliance with the constitution. The announcement follows the launch of a campaign by over 300 civil society groups earlier this month, calling on him not to run for a third term to prevent further violence. But Nyamwitwe warned that anyone seeking to spark protests would face the law. Rights groups have warned of growing fears of the risk of violence ahead of elections, with a string of attacks, including a 5-day battle last month between the army and rebels. Now, the chairman of Nigeria's election management body, INEC, Tahiru Jega, on Wednesday appeared before the Senate to brief the upper legislative chamber on the commission's level of preparedness for the general elections. Jega briefed the lawmakers on what the commission had done so far.
Once the card reader is configured, it can only read permanent voters' cards issued by INEC at the polling unit that has been configured. Second, it reads the embedded chip in the card, not the barcode. Third, it enables authentication of the identity of the voter by matching his or her fingerprints with that stored on the chip of the card.
Tunisia is opposed to a military intervention in Libya. Prime Minister Habib Assid on Wednesday said the only solution to Libya's crisis is political. Assid also condemned an attack by suspected Al-Qaeda-linked militants near the Algerian border that killed 4 Tunisian policemen. He vowed to exterminate the perpetrators. The attack was the first deadly assault this year on government forces in Tunisia, where the police and the army have been hunting down jihadis blamed for a string of attacks on security forces. On Thursday, the Nigerian lawmakers called on President Goodluck Jonathan to make available to the National Assembly the forensic report of the $20 billion allegedly missing from the coffers of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC. The motion was raised by Minority Leader Femi Gbajabiamila. The House unanimously adopted Gbajabiamila's motion that the presidency provide the audit report to both chambers of the National Assembly without further delay. Nigeria has increased her fleet of naval ships with the delivery of 4 warships. This makes the country's navy one of the largest on the African continent, having over 30 warships at hand. The commissioning of another 4 vessels was done with the purpose of filling the gaps in securing Nigerian territory waters, especially on the Gulf of Guinea, which has been prone to piracy in recent times. The newly acquired ships Okbabana, Centenary, Prosperity and Sagbama are officially handed over to the Nigerian Navy at one of the ships. Okbabana was designed in New Orleans and commissioned into the service of the U.S. Coast Guard on December 20, 1969. The warship was acquired by the Nigerian Navy under the auspices of Defense Article Program between Nigeria and the U.S. The Zimbabwe Health Ministry has embarked on a mass drug administration to eradicate diseases such as bilharzia and other intestinal worm diseases. This mass drug administration is being conducted after the ministry realized that there is a rapid increase in cases of bilharzia and intestinal worms in Zimbabwean children. Under this program, most Zimbabwean children under the age of 15 will be administered with drugs to treat these diseases. According to the Health Ministry, this program is conducted in 57 districts of the country's 63 districts. More than 6 people were killed after a suicide bomber rammed a car into the gate of a luxury hotel in the Somali capital, Mogadishu, on Friday. Now, the suicide bomber then blew himself up inside the compound. A group of ministers and lawmakers had been gathered at the Central Hotel. 2 government ministers and a lawmaker were also wounded in the blast. Terror group Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for the attack. Al-Shabaab frequently targets officials in Mogadishu in its bid to bring down the Western-backed government. Heads of state of the East African community have drummed up support for infrastructure development, which they have identified as key to regional integration. The leaders who met in Nairobi on Friday also called on the warring factions in South Sudan to honor the ceasefire brokered by regional mediators. Ken Karuri reports.
Leaders from the 5-nation East African community met in Nairobi on Friday for the 16th Heads of State Summit and pledged to accelerate efforts to unite the region. The first order of business saw President Uhuru Kenyatta hand over the chairmanship to his counterpart from Tanzania, Jakaya Kikwete, and who highlighted the milestones the region had achieved, especially on trade.
Trade is the lifeline of our integration endeavor. It may, in many ways, trade drives and holds together an integration process. Former inter-East African community trade for the period of 2010 and 2013, as explained by President Uhuru Kenyatta, increased from $3.7 billion to $5.8 billion.
In what will be a defining year for Tanzania's President Jakaya Kikwete as the new incoming chair of the regional body, the East African community is looking at ways in which it can unlock finance to help it improve its infrastructure. The region is eyeing close to $100 billion to address the existing gaps in its infrastructure.
It is encouraging to note the good work being done by the staff and community partner states, individually and in collaboration with others, of improving physical infrastructure in the region. However, there is need to do a lot more because there is a huge infrastructure deficit in our respective countries or within our respective countries and in the region at large.
Outgoing chairman and who is also Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta called for partner states to abolish the remaining non-tariff barriers, and which he said were obstacles to the integration of the region.
About 24 non-tariff barriers still remain unresolved. This denies us the opportunity to unlock the immense promise of integration and starves businesses of innumerable opportunities. To grow inter-community trade, we need to implement decisive solutions without delay.
South Sudan President Salva Kiir was a special guest during the summit. And as expected, the 14-month conflict in his country was a focal point during discussions. A communique released by the Secretary General of the East African Community, Richard Sezibera, called for the warring parties in the world's newest nation to end hostilities and support peace efforts brokered by regional mediators.
The summit considered the security situation in South Sudan and noted the work being done under the auspices of IGAD. The summit noted and welcomed the agreement on the establishment of the transitional government of national unity, and also calling for immediate and permanent ceasefire signed on 1st February 2015 in Addis Ababa by the two parties in the conflict.
The East African Community is an intergovernmental organization comprising 5 countries, namely Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda. The organization was originally founded in 1967 before it collapsed 10 years later due to political differences. However, it was revived on 7 July 2000. Ken Karubi, TVC News, Nairobi.
A South African High Court has sentenced a man to prison for 251 years for several crimes. 40-year-old Itumeleng Daniel Selekanyo was given a further 3 life terms for 2 murders and 2 rapes. He murdered 2 South African National Defence Force members respectively in 2008 and 2009 before robbing them of their cars at gunpoint. Selekanyo was also jailed for possession of unlicensed firearm and ammunition, kidnapping, attempted robbery, and escape from police custody. Well, he has enough time, 2.5 centuries, to ponder on his actions. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, it will be time for Digging Deep. Stay with us.